Welcome to the Personal Development Mastery Podcast. I am Agi Keramidas and my mission is to inspire you to rise up, grow, stand out and take action towards the next level of your life. I am interviewing leaders, influencers, entrepreneurs, authors, exceptional people who can and will inspire you to improve your life. Tune in for 2 episodes each week, every Monday and Thursday. In today's show, it is my real delight to speak with Andrew Kap. Andrew, you hold one goal above all others through your various projects, and that is genuine and sustainable impact. You are the author of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read, which offers the readers a never-before-seen understanding of the topic and promises to reveal the missing key to finally tapping into the universe and manifesting your desires. Andrew, welcome to Personal Development Mastery. I'm really thrilled and grateful to be speaking with you today.
Agi, thanks so much for having me. I am so grateful to be having this conversation with you, and it's an honor to be on your podcast. So I appreciate this opportunity to chat with you.
Thank you. Andrew, I will start with a question for maybe someone who is not sure of what we're talking about here. So, in 1 minute, can you explain to me what law of attraction is?
It's so funny. I just challenged myself to do a video on my YouTube channel about this because it's so hard to fit into 60 seconds. But the long and short of it is, we are all made of energy. Everything, us, the universe, and everything around us vibrates at a certain frequency, including our thoughts. So, there's no perfect way of putting it, but a great way to put it that's going to be applicable to people is, your thoughts, when directed in the right way, are going to invite a frequency and an energy of the thing that you're thinking about to such an extent that it can actually literally manifest into your reality, which is just a long-winded way of saying what we think about and focus on becomes our reality. And to extend a little past 60 seconds, obviously people are like, well, I'm thinking about my new car all the time. How come it's not coming to me? And then that becomes a question, well, are you thinking about it as if you have it, or are you thinking about the lack of it? But that's a whole other rabbit hole we can go down.
And we're certainly going to discuss that in more detail a little bit later. Can you, let's go back for the time being, and I want to ask you, how did you first come across the law of attraction, and when did you start believing in the power it has?
Right. Well, I think people, when, like me, I'm an entrepreneur for 2 decades now. And I think when we go into our own business for ourselves, or even salespeople, or there's people that basically have to kill their own dinner, so to speak, we're always looking for ways just to expand our success. So we just read books on success, which will inevitably take us to books on personal development, books on mindset, and books that are a little bit more esoteric in nature. So just through going down the rabbit hole of reading a lot of different books, a lot of different modalities, I just discovered it kind of in passing, probably 2004, 2005. And for me, I had an open mind about it that I guess it works. Let me try. It doesn't hurt to try, right? Mm-hmm. And I had my little successes and my little failures. There was never a consistent reliability to it. Till probably about 12 years ago, I kind of, ignored it and just went about life. And I had a really bad week where I lost my business and a 3 relationship all in the same week, none of which were my decision. And at that point, I'm like, listen, I'm heartbroken. I'm miserable. I'm pretty unhappy about this whole situation. And this thing kind of works. Let me just be stubborn because I had nowhere else to go. And I indignantly just focused on law of attraction methods for just 5 minutes a day. Mm-hmm. And I refused to quit this time because sometimes things will be going really well and I could explain why we quit anyway, but we'll quit on it. But I was stubborn, and within 2 weeks I felt better, which is saying a lot when you're heartbroken. Within 3 months, I'm in a brand new relationship, a brand new healthy relationship, way healthier. Within 4 months, I'm making more money than at any point in my life before then. And within 6 months, everything's better. My life is the best it could have been. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm waking up a brand new, happy, fulfilled, successful, satisfied person. And at that point, I'm sold. I'm like, okay, well, this was the secret trick. The trick was just sticking with it. If I had just only stuck with it years ago, I wouldn't have even gone through that breakup. I wouldn't have gone through losing that business, but whatever. I went through what I went through to learn my lesson, and I was just a believer through the experience of doing it to the point that I got results.
Awesome. You know, what strikes me the most out of everything you said is the fact that you said 5 minutes. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that, did I hear you right? 5 minutes
You
a
heard
day.
right. You heard right. I mean, some people do 10 minutes, some people do a half hour, but many days I just did 5 minutes. And we're talking about simple exercises. We're talking about writing a list of things that you're grateful for. We're talking about scripting your life, writing your life how you want it to be as if it already is that way in the present tense. Or we're talking about a simple visualization, visualizing what you want, or even not even what you want, but anything that just has you in a good mood. Because I won't give you the exact numbers since I don't know the exact numbers, but my experience and things that I've read have told me that our positive thoughts are hundreds, if not thousands of times more powerful than the negative ones, which is why 5 minutes a day is enough, because it'll compensate for the other negative thoughts you're having that day, but also there will be a momentum, there will be a snowball effect where each day, the more days you do it, you'll feel fewer negative thoughts on the tail end, and it'll just kind of shift in the other direction for you.
That's awesome. Andrew, let me ask you. So I'm sure that the listener, even someone who didn't know much about the concept, hopefully they have heard of it before, but now they have a clearer understanding of what it is and what it may be able to do. So if I were to ask you, so what exactly can the law of attraction do for someone? How can it benefit the listener, provided, of course, that they practice the techniques that we'll talk about a bit later on? So what would you ask? What is the benefit? What can they have as a result of the law of attraction?
Right. Well, potentially, technically, there are no limits, meaning you want to be a billionaire, you can be a billionaire. And where the short happens, or where like that doesn't quite work out the certain way, is because, if we're still carrying a certain level of doubt, then that means we're emitting a vibration that goes in contradiction with that. But what I would say is where people can take this is they can take it for huge gains in their finances, in their relationships, in their health, just in the context that if they're only consistent with it every single day and not worrying too much about the how, the when, and the why, and kind of letting the universe take the wheel and still taking action, but inspired action when their gut nudges them in that direction, rather than taking action out of fear and out of lack. But people can they can shock themselves with the kinds of improvements they can experience in their lives. I mean, for me, when I went on that 6-month run of just doing all these things, I wasn't trying to lose weight, but in the midst of all the things that I was doing, one of which was martial arts, but that was just to feel better about myself, I lost 25 pounds in 7 weeks. I wasn't trying. It just happened. So that's the key about this. A lot of this stuff will just happen, or you'll be looking for that man of your dreams, or that woman of your dreams, and all of a sudden you'll be running into people and you'll be noticing they're more interested in you. Or it's a thing where, because things are going so well, you're inspired to get in shape, you're inspired to get healthier. And then all of a sudden it's not about losing those 100 pounds that you need to lose. It's about losing the 2 pounds and giving off this energy and this new vibration of confidence and enthusiasm and self-love that really is going to connect with the right person who's going to notice you. Because we could read each other on a very subconscious level anyway. So that's my long-winded way of saying anything's possible within reason, in the sense that you want to do what you can to get out of your own way as you're going along this path, and using simple techniques, which you can get in my book or any other book worth its salt.
Okay. You mentioned a word there, and that's my next question. You mentioned the word doubt, and all this, of course, sounds wonderful, but I'm sure you come across often people who don't really believe in this. It sounds too good to be true, or out there, if I can use that phrase. So can you tell me, how much do you actually need to believe that the law of attraction works for it to work?
So this is the beauty of this. And this is where there's a misunderstanding of doubt. Like, you don't have to believe it at all. And I'll explain why. So let's just switch gears real quick and let's talk about lifting weights. You lift weights and you get muscles. It's an oversimplification, but everyone understands it. Now, I want to give you 2 possible reasons why you're getting those muscles. Reason number 1 is you lift weights, and when you go to sleep, the muscle fairy comes and gives you muscles. And I can hear, it's ridiculous, right? Well, here's the other explanation. The other explanation is when you're lifting weights, you're putting so much stress on your body that the muscles are literally tearing. And what your body does when you're sleeping or even just throughout the day is it heals you by filling in those gaps with more muscle fiber. It's a natural healing response. Now, if I were to ask somebody like, what is the reason between the two, even though there's another explanation, they're going to lean towards the second one. But my answer is, it doesn't matter. What matters is you lift weights, you get muscles. You put in X, you get Y. And by that same token, while you don't even need an exact explanation of the law of attraction, when you do these methods, when you focus on gratitude, when you focus on visualizations, you're going to get results. And even if you don't want to attribute it to the law of attraction, I tell friends, I'm like, I'm fine with that as long as you get your result. And this is the thing about the whole doubt. You could doubt yourself and you can get yourself in only so much, because if you do these methods for like 30 days, maybe you're not going to get that $1 million result, but you might get that raise or that promotion. Mm-hmm. And then you've got the experiential moment, the experience that you can't argue with. And once that's happened, then it's your decision whether you want to keep doing it or not. But you've gotten a result. You've lifted the weights and you've gotten the muscles. Where you go is from there is up to you. But you can do enough, even in the face of your doubt, to get a result that will sell you on doing it a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Well, I suppose that for many people, because we live in an era or in a society, if you want, that people want to see it to believe it, or they want some proof, that it works. I think that would gravitate someone to get to go for the scientific explanation in your example about the muscle, rather than the how do you call it, the muscle fairy that that comes at night. So, and there is this era, because science is so advanced compared to how it was not even so long ago, that there is the constant need for proof, for evidence, and of course not everything has been proven yet, or science hasn't shed light to all of the things, especially spiritual things. But tell me, is there, for law of attraction, is there scientific evidence to prove it, or do we just need to accept it that it is?
Well, there is within reason. Like, I mean, I'm not aware of papers that have been done or things like of that nature, but there is something that I think you could still find it on YouTube. It's called the double slit experiment. And if anyone ever watched the movie What the Bleep Do We Know, they kind of went deep into this. And I'll give you the really butchered explanation. I think it's like a 7-minute video, so it's kind of worth it to watch rather than listen to me. But essentially, they were like firing a laser like through this like little panel or something. And the long and short of it's like the observation of the scientist changed the way the laser reacted, where it was like there were like potential possibilities of what it might be when they weren't observing it. And then when they observed it, like something definitively happened. That's my, obviously we can go into quantum physics a little bit also, which is relation to that. But there's science there. But then in the end, people can say, the earth is round or the earth is flat. Our only proof comes from things that we've read or comes from TV. But in the end, no one, I don't know anyone personally who's popped up into space and looked down and could actually tell me. I mean, I'm not a flat earther. I believe the earth is round, but do I believe that because it's true, or because I've just been told that from so many different angles since I've been born? And that's the thing. I mean, there's only so much verifiable stuff, which is why I always go back to, well, find out for yourself through experience. And by the way, getting back to the working out part, no one wants to work out in the sense like, what if the muscles don't grow and I'm risking getting injured and this is not fun and this is horrible? The beauty of like the law of attraction methods that I teach is that they're fun and they're only 5 minutes. So you're not really giving something up on your path to doing this. In the worst case scenario, if nothing happens, you at least took 5 minutes out of your day to be happy and to relieve some stress, which I think we could all agree scientifically and physiologically, through your physiology, is a good thing anyway. So I'm a huge proponent of, don't take my word for it, only except for just doing this for 5 minutes, because you're not really losing anything. You're not spending money. No one's going to know you're doing it. So you're not risking embarrassment. Like, there's nothing to do and everything to gain by engaging in a process of gratitude and then seeing for yourself what happens.
Hi, it's Agi here, interrupting you with something you may find useful. One of the most frustrating feelings is when you're trying to focus, but you can't get your brain to concentrate on the important work in front of you. This happens to me all the time, and if it happens to you too, you are not alone. 40% of people say they have to make a big effort to concentrate. But if you're having trouble getting focused, I have a solution for you. I'm so excited to be partnering with Brain FM. Brain FM is a great app, and I use it to block out my mental chatter and zone in on my number one priority of the day. Brain FM uses functional music that is backed by science and research, and it is designed to give us that extra edge when we need our undivided attention. And they also have relaxation, meditation, and deep sleep modules that help you unwind and recharge. So if you want to be able to place your full attention exclusively in the activity you choose, whether that's meaningful work or relaxing or getting high quality sleep, right now, as my podcast listener, you get 20% off Brain FM subscription at brain.fm/Agi. That's an amazing deal for such a useful app. Thousands of people have given 5-star reviews to Brain FM. Find out why? brain.fm/Agi. Thank you for this answer, and what you said about the earth, and it's a great example because there may be as much evidence and backing up by science for everything, but in the end we have to have some kind of element of belief in it as well. So
yes.
Because we don't produce the evidence ourselves, so that's a great way of combining the two answers, I think. Andrew, so is there a process or some steps to follow for someone in order to activate the law of attraction working for them?
Well, it all comes down to like and the reason I say like methods and I say techniques is that's really just an organized, intentional way of inviting good things into your life by inviting a good mood and basically putting yourself in a position where you are thinking about what you want and feeling good at the same time. That goes back to like, I'm thinking about the car, I'm not getting it. You're probably thinking from a sense of lack. So it all comes down to thinking of what you want and feeling good at the same time. So for me, this is all about strategy. Like me, I'm not the master of the universe. I don't see it as me bending the universe to my will. Instead, I'm kind of looking at this like almost like a scientist or almost like a tactician. What can I do within reason, within my own power, that's not going to force the universe to bend every which way, but it's going to invite the universe to give me better results about things about my life that I want. So to more directly answer your question, again, like my book or any other book worth its salt will hopefully have methods that will help you intentionally engage into this process. But if you'd like, I'm happy to teach my favorite method from the book because it's not hard to explain.
Absolutely.
I call this the time-lapse method, and this is a gratitude exercise. And what you're basically going to do is you're going to write down 15 things that you're grateful for. Now, 5 of them are things that you've received in your past. 5 of them are things that you are enjoying in your present, and 5 of them are things that you want in your future. But the trick to all this is you're phrasing all of them in the present tense. And then you're taking that list and you're jumbling it up. So technically, the first item is a future thing, then a past, then a present, then another present, then another past, then another future. It's all a big jumbled mess. And what you're going to do is you're going to go down the list one at a time, reading it off, and taking just 20 to 60 seconds to feel gratitude for that thing. And here's the thing. We were talking about frequency before and the way you vibrate. This is basically strategically tricking your vibration because 2/3 of that list is actually true. And as humans, we can't really downshift that easily from certainty to doubt. So what you're doing is you're taking the certainty of those 2/3 and you're carrying it over into the future items that you're listing over, which again is another way of basically tricking your vibration of telling the universe that you have that house that you want already, or that girlfriend, or that boyfriend, or that promotion, or that health improvement, or whatever it is, in the midst of all the other things that you already have. Again, you're infusing the same level of confidence and certainty in a more undeniable way and kind of like boosting the speed and the energy with which you're inviting those things that you still want on that list.
That's fascinating. Can you give me an example? You said that you you phrase them in the present tense. So if you could give me an example of one of the three categories, the one you received, one that you have present, and one you want,
sure.
how would you phrase them?
Sure. And by the way, you can do different areas of life, but just to make the example clear for people listening, let's talk about financially or just in terms of success, material success.
Yeah.
Let's say that 5 years ago, I finally achieved making $100,000 a year. And right now I am living in the ideal apartment, and my future thing is a house of my own. So maybe one of the statements will be like, I'm so happy and grateful for having achieved the status of making $100,000 a year. I've said that in the present tense. And then apartment, I'm so happy and grateful that I've found the perfect apartment. And then for the house, I'm so happy and grateful that I've found the ideal house for myself. And and you can go deep into that. I'm so grateful for it's the perfect square footage, or it's the number of rooms that are ideal for me, or whatever it might be. But I've phrased them all in the present tense. And by the way, I can have the apartment and the house. I don't have to be like, I now moved out of my apartment. If I want to add those details, fine. But that's, by the way, the beauty of it also. You can be as simplistic or as, intricate as you want in this, as long as it feels good for you and it's easy to carry over. But yeah, just those three statements, they were technically past, present, and future, but I phrased them all in the present. And when I jumble up that list and I read a long enough list, and by the way, it could be 15, but you also do 30 items if you really want to take that time. It could be 100 items if you're having fun, as long as it's a choice rather than a chore and it doesn't feel like a headache every day. But again, I'm convincing or tricking my subconscious mind, and it won't know the difference.
So do you write the list? Let's say you write 15 things, 5 of each category. So do you write 5 of the past, 5 of the present, and then you shuffle them up, or do you write them in a random order beforehand?
Right. So, and this is where it comes to a question of like, are you writing it down on a piece of paper, or are you typing it out on a computer? The answer to that is whatever you're comfortable. Okay. My personal approach is I write them down, but like, who wants to write down the same thing twice? We're busy, right? So I'll write the first list in like shorthand. I won't be like, I'm so happy and grateful, just like the apartment and the car. But then when I write the long list, because I know that I'm really doing it, I'll like have placeholders. Like I'll write the first thing, and then like I'll number like 1 through 15. And then I'll go down and just write random numbers on the other side. Like the one that had a number 1 on one side, I put a number 7. And the number 2, I put like another number 15. And then I'll just like use that order. Like whatever it is, the way your mind works, so that you can organize it in any different jumbled up mess than past and present and future, just again, so you can confuse your subconscious mind or your vibration enough that it's harder for it to tell the difference, and you can just enjoy the ride.
And do you use the same list, or do you write a new list every day?
Right. And thank you for asking that. And again, this comes down to the person. Like me personally, what I used to do was I would write almost the same list every day, because there were certain things that I were really into. Like the future items were almost always the same, but sometimes I would mix up the past and the present, because it challenged me to be grateful for more of the things that I already had. But really the answer is you can do whatever you want. You can write one list one time and use that for use that same list every single week without writing it. Or you could write down the same list every single day, or you could write down something different every single day. The real key, and I'm glad you bring this up, because what you're really doing is you're doing your audience a great service by really asking what's the perfect way to do it, because we always fall into that, right? We fall into the thing of like, well, how do I really actually do this? And this is the thing, by the way, that most people will miss, myself included for years. There is no perfect way, and that's the best news in the world, because since there's no perfect way, there's no way you have to do it. There's only a way that you get to do it. And as long as you are feeling good while thinking about the things that you want, any way that, as long as it's comfortable, that is the perfect way for you, which, by the way, might be more than one way. There might be 10 different ways of doing it, and you enjoy all 10 ways. And it's like, hey, beautiful, go nuts. So my answer, a lot of this is like, if people are like, well, what's the right way? I'd say experiment for a month. And what they've done is they haven't really just spent a month trying to figure out what the right way is. They've spent the month enjoying themselves every single day, regardless through their pathway of discovery. So it's like, it's a win-win situation. You're continuing this method, but you're also having fun with experimentation. And you're also giving yourself permission to not be perfect and not put so much pressure on yourself or the universe to get yourself that result.
That's great. The reason that I asked about this is because of my own personal experience. So doing gratitude practice, I tend to write down the same things. It's easier, or the mind just focuses on something stand out so much that there were times that I really needed to put some effort to find something that I didn't write yesterday and the day before and the day before. So that's why I'm asking, those specifics, even though you've answered that for me already.
And by the way, these are the perfect questions that I wish somebody asked on my behalf 15 years ago. So thank you for asking. And I will tell you my personal opinion, if you're writing the same thing every day, as long as you feel genuine gratitude on each thing, you've won. But also, I do love the fact that you challenge yourself, because there are countless things that we have. Like another method I have, I call it the gratitude blitz. And that's where you just like go on for whether 90 seconds, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just going through all the things that you're grateful for. And I'm self-published. Like when I wrote the last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read, I wanted it to be like my way and my rules. I didn't want a typical publisher like tell me how to do it. And because I wrote it my way, I got to break the rules. And I had one page. There's no paragraph changes. There's no lines. There's no indentations. It's just one blurred up mess of a list of things that I'm grateful for, separated by commas. And you flip the page, whether you're on a Kindle or you're on a paperback or you're just listening to the audiobook, and it's just like me going on about ice cream, cookies, my first kiss, my first crush, my college prom, like all these different things, like on and on, my laptop, my phone, my health, my fingers, my arms, my hands, my legs, my toes, my eyes, my ears, my sense of smell, my sense of taste. Like you can go on and on and on. And the more you think about it, you almost get on a roll. Just like if anyone's like looking for things to be grateful for, they are listening to this podcast on a device. And I guarantee you that device is not only bringing your podcast to them, which is an amazing resource in and of itself, but it's letting them check their email. It's letting them shop. It's letting them check the weather. It's letting them check the news. It's letting them keep up with events. It's letting them like keep up with distractions from events. It's letting them do whatever they need to do to be entertained or informed or whatever else they need. And there's like so much, just that one device, to say nothing of your body, to say nothing of your best friend who was there and did favors for you when you were a kid, to say nothing of the mentor who took a chance on you, to say nothing of that job that hired you when you didn't have the qualifications, and on and on and on and on. There are always things to be grateful for.
Okay, brings to mind the secondary or tertiary things that come out of a main thing.
Yes.
There is one other thing. I'm going to go even deeper in this particular practice.
For sure.
And you say that the key is to feel good while you're doing that and to enjoy yourself, to evoke that feeling of gratitude while you're doing it. I have found personally, and I'm sure others can relate to that as well, that when you write a gratitude list, you tend to, at some points anyway, to do it mechanically. So you write things for the sake of writing without necessarily having that feeling that, oh, I'm really grateful in my heart for this. So what's your advice on how can someone deal with that and evoke that joy, that happiness, that gratitude?
Right. So there's two answers that are popping to my head right now as you ask that. The first one is, just as there's like no perfect way of doing this, there's also I want to advise people against putting a pressure on themselves to feel the same booming gratitude each time. Because if you do, awesome, but it's not a requirement. And I mean that in the sense, like, there's people listening to this right now, they know about the law of attraction. They tried it a couple of years ago, and who knows, and they're going to give this a shot now. And the first time they do it, most likely it's going to be awesome. But then the second day they're going to go back and it's not going to be as vibrant. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, of course it's not going to be as vibrant, because there's novelty there the first time. And now you're used to it a little bit more. As long as you feel even keel, as long as you're not feeling negative, you're in the positive. So even if there's a subtle feeling of gratitude, that's still way more powerful than you realize, because you never understand all the things that are going on energetically in the ether that your physical senses are not picking up. So I want to give people or have people give themselves permission not to feel that perfectly each time. Although, since we enjoy that feeling, why not reach for it? So to answer your question more directly, that's probably a time where you want to switch up your list and you want to think of new things. And it's also time where you also, take a few extra minutes in the day, meaning rather than going through your list saying, okay, I'm going to even hit my timer. I'm going to go like 60 seconds go as I dwell on this item before I go to the next piece, just to give myself a little more opportunity to see what happens, And again, there's no pressure. It might be just a subtle little thing. And by the way, when the timer goes off, if I'm feeling on a roll, I don't have to go to the next item. I can stick with this. There are no rules preventing you from being like, you know what? I'm going to go another minute on this item. Because if you could write one thing down and only feel good for that for 5 minutes, it's just as powerful as writing 15 things down. But because you've achieved gratitude, you've achieved a good feeling. So it doesn't really matter. So more answer to directly your question. I mean, just keep mixing it up and come up with new ways that feel fresh so that you can re-experience it, but also don't put so much pressure to always experience it in the same vibrant way, because you won't, and that's okay.
Thank you. And I'll stay with this topic because I find it completely fascinating, and maybe this is actually the distilling how can one utilize the law of attraction to their benefit. Does the level of detail that you use to write play any role? And one more, sorry, I'll ask that first, and there is one more thing I want to ask you.
Sure.
That comes to mind.
The level of detail, I'd say make it as specific as you want to, as long as it's not introducing doubt or resistance.
Okay.
Meaning, if like the details of the house are not making you all of a sudden wonder how you're going to get it, well, go with it. But by that same token, even just a general view is kind of like in saying, well, universe, you could fill in the gaps. Like, I want a girlfriend who is warm and caring and kind. I personally don't care about her hair color. If I did, I'm putting it in. But if I don't, the universe will surprise me. Or maybe thinking of her exact face, like I feel doubt, like, how am I going to produce this exact face? So instead of thinking about her in that way, I will imagine being on the phone call with her and having wonderful, deep conversations, because her face is now out of the equation, yet I still get to feel what it feels like to be in that relationship. So the level of detail is up to you as long as you feel good about it. Both general and specific will lead to good results. Some will shock you with how specific they are when you go into your specific detail.
That's great. And one more thing, there was a technique, if you want, to deepen the sense of gratitude when we make a list. And that was after you write down or you think about an item or an event or something that you are grateful for, to dwell on the reason, to say, because I'm grateful for X because of that. So what are your thoughts on that?
Thank you for bringing that up. That is wonderful. That's one of my gratitude boosters I talk about.
Okay.
Like it's one of the things where when you say I'm so happy, grateful for because, you're right. It's infusing an extra level. It's basically it's giving your mind the reason and the permission to feel more gratitude about it. And that is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful way of doing it. Another way, by the way, is picture light coming from your solar plexus or your heart area, extending out into the universe or into whatever or whoever you are thanking for that thing as you're being grateful is another method by which you can boost the gratitude. So imagine combining them. Imagine visualizing light from your solar plexus coming out and buzzing as you're saying the reason, and you're combining, like you're stacking and combining all these different things at once. You don't have to, but you might as well. It's kind of like, everyone loves ice cream, but why not put the nuts on? Why not put the sprinkles? Why not put the cherry? Why not put the syrup? Make the sundae as intricate as you want, but also the ice cream in and of itself is always going to be good.
Awesome. That's fantastic. I think you went into very much detail. We have answered all the questions I had, and even more of that. Can we go to the other side of it now, Andrew? So let's say that someone, and I'm sure you hear that often, or other people have done it, they practice these methods, they practice gratitude, they do their best, honest efforts, to do this. And time passes and not much happens, if nothing at all. Are they doing something wrong?
Technically, and when they hear what it is, it's the most frustrating answer in the world. So, and technically yes, and technically no, and I'll give you the yes and the no. So,
Okay.
the yes part, and here's the rub: when you're doing the method to get the house or the car or the job or the girl or the man, like whatever it might be, when you're doing it for the sake of doing that, oftentimes you're introducing lack and resistance without realizing it. The trick is to do the method for the sake of enjoying it. When you do it for the sake of enjoying it and you're putting less pressure on the actual result, believe it or not, some ironic twist of fate, it frees up the universe to bring you the result. So oftentimes if people are doing it over and over and over again, they're most likely doing it out of a sense of frustration, out of a sense of commitment. It's not a choice, it's a chore. It's something that they're annoyed doing. And why wouldn't they be? They've been doing it for 5 years and they still don't have what they want. Of course they're going to be upset. But they're not doing it for the sake of enjoying it, which is like the piece of it. Now that's where, if we want to call it their fault, that's one way. But there's another piece of this, and this is what I talk about in the book. I think we have three minds, and I'm going to use words that, scientists would use, that psychologists would use for different descriptions, but we'll just say we've got the conscious and the subconscious, but we've also got the ego. Now, the ego is kind of like in the middle of it. The ego is stronger than the conscious mind, but fortunately, the subconscious mind is stronger than the ego. And the thing about the ego, at least the way I define the ego, is it only has one job, and that job is to keep you alive. That's all that it cares about. All it cares about is that you are alive. And by the way, right now, when you're in that horrible relationship or you don't have a relationship, you're in that horrible job or you don't have a job, you don't have the money, you're having health issues. The ego's like, well, you're alive right now. I don't care about your discomfort, your dissatisfaction. I don't care about your fulfillment. I don't care about your happiness. My job's to keep you alive, and you're alive right now. How do I know as the ego that when you get money, family won't come out of the woodwork and try to take it from you? How do I know that when you become famous, you won't get a stalker? How do I know like X, Y, Z? Like, listen, we're good right now. You're alive. That's my job. So what your ego is going to do is even though it can't think and understand that you're going to be safer with the money, you're going to be happier with a relationship, it's going to find devious ways of making you doubt yourself. That's why, people don't really stick with the routines. They're like, I'll do it tomorrow. That's not your conscious mind. That's your ego like whispering in your ear, kind of like the angel and the devil on your shoulder. It's like, you'll do it tomorrow. It's fine. It's just trying to keep it at bay. And this is, it's important to understand this, that your ego loves you. It's not trying to screw you over. It wants to keep you alive. And this is how it's doing it. It's trying to care for you. It's misguided, but it's trying. So this is the whole point of the method. And this is the whole point of doing the method, to enjoy it rather than to get the result. Because when you can enjoy it and you look forward and there's no obligation, it's not a chore, it's easy to do, then you're using those methods. And by nature of what they are accessing your subconscious mind, and then your subconscious mind will do the heavy lifting of reaching out to the universe and of moving you along in your day where you're going to get what you want. Your subconscious mind, this isn't just about like law of attraction, the way people define it. Your subconscious mind will help you in your body language and your inflection in a way that you're going to be more attracted to the person that you're looking for, or you're going to look better at work. You're going to speak more confidently. You're going to come up with better ideas. Like all these things are going to happen because the subconscious mind is got the wheel, and the ego, it can tackle your conscious mind, but it can't do anything about the subconscious. So long-winded way of saying it's your fault and not your fault. It's like the sense of like, if it's your fault, meaning there's something that you can do about it, it's in focusing on the enjoyment of the method rather than the result. And then the other piece is just understanding, listen, the ego is going to try to take care of you in a misguided way. But by doing the methods, which if you're enjoying them, you're going to do them, you're going to bypass that, go to the subconscious mind and let the heavy lifting be done for you.
Thank you. Andrew, obviously this is such a big topic. I could be talking for hours with you about this. You described this time-lapse method in great detail, and I appreciate it. I'm grateful for that. Can you go through one more technique with us?
Sure thing. We went to gratitude methods. I snuck in the blitz there as well. So, we can do let's talk about a visualization one. This one, I call it the 10 minutes ago method. And this goes down to the reminder that sometimes people think they have to feel the thing perfectly. Like I have to feel what it's like to win the lottery. Otherwise, how's it going to happen? I have to feel what it's like to be in that house. I have to feel what it's like to whatever it might be. The 10 minutes ago method is basically you visualizing yourself as if you got the news of that of what you wanted 10 minutes ago. Or it could be 20 minutes or whatever your brain rationalizes. And the key about this is, like, if I were to win the lottery, well, there's, obviously I'm going to be really excited, but there's no telling how much I will or will not have calmed down 10 minutes later, which is another way of saying I have permission to feel any emotion at all as I'm visualizing this without botching it, because we always worry about botching it. So by putting yourself in the visualization of your 10 minutes in the future of getting what you want, you can visualize it easier with less pressure on yourself. So what are you doing 10 minutes from now? Are you calling your family? Are you bragging about it on Facebook? Are you telling people not to tell it on Facebook because you don't want people coming after your money? Like, what are the vivid real life experience details that match your personality and that mirror who you are that you will be doing and saying and reacting? That's kind of thing. And you can do this for 90 seconds or 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Just sit down and visualize yourself 10 minutes in the future of having whatever news that you wanted coming your way.
Is this something that the more you do it, you get better at it? Again, I'm asking from personal experience, because trying to do a visualization like this, I find it very difficult, especially to feel the vibration of I have achieved that or I have obtained it. It doesn't come to me easily to get into the state of the excitement or gratitude for it.
Right. So there's two pieces. Well, one, it does technically get easier in the sense that it's a muscle that you're working. Although it's going to be a lot harder for it to get easier if you're always putting pressure on yourself every day. And you're like, I just can't do this. But I have an even better answer because, again, you know me, like you could probably tell by the way I speak, I'm a strategy guy. I'm not trying to bend the universe to my will. I'm just trying to give it an opportunity to give me what I want. So if I'm having trouble with visualization, most likely because my ego is telling me I'm having trouble with visualization because the ego is freaking out and doesn't want things to change, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to play your game. That's fine. And instead of even trying to visualize, instead of trying to do the gratitude methods, I'm going to do scripting. And again, scripting is really just writing about your life as if you've already living your dream life. And sometimes you can mix in details of what is really in your life already, along with the future stuff, all in the present tense. And here's the thing, even if you don't feel good, if you're writing about it, if you're putting down the details, pen to paper or just typing it, there is no denying that you are accessing a part of your mind that's telling you this is true. I mean, Olympic athletes visualize themselves winning the gold medal and running through the event before they win the gold medal because the subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between perceived reality and physical reality. I mean, and by the way, we're looking for science before. I mean, Olympic athletes doing something that tells you a lot. And you do research into military. Military has done a lot in terms of the study of the human mind and visualization, where it goes. So for me, if I'm having trouble visualizing, I don't even care about that. I'm literally going to script instead every day. And it could be half a page. It could be 3 pages. It could be whatever I want. And I don't even realize that it really is. Even if I don't feel anything fervently, I it's automatically accessing my subconscious mind, which is automatically reaching out to the universe for me because the images are in my head. Even if I don't see them in my head, the fact that I have to write it down, something is happening. It's impossible for it to not be happening, even if it's not happening in your conscious perception.
I see. Thank you. Let's talk about something slightly different, Andrew, and I'm going to mention the book and the documentary that made the law of attraction well known to the public, including myself. So back in 2006, it was The Secret, which really popularized the idea of the law of attraction. I remember I watched it first and then I read the book. And a couple of years ago, I remember being at an event where Dr. John DeMartini, one of the people who were participating in The Secret, was speaking. And he was speaking about, in his words, it was the secret that was left out of the secret. So the missing ingredient, if you want. And he was talking about the action that we must take in order to, manifest our desires rather than how the book portrayed it, that all you need to do is visualize about it and feel the feelings, and then it's going to appear in your front door. So can you share your thoughts on this for me?
Yeah, so this is actually borrowing more of like of an Abraham thing, who was in the original Secret, but there was a whole thing they didn't make in the book because it was a publishing issue. But action's required, but it's inspired action. And what I mean by that is like you want to get somewhere. Like, we're in a physical 3-dimensional experience. Action isn't an obligation, it's a gift. But the thing is, if you're taking action out of lack and fear, it's much less likely to go where you want it to go versus taking action out of like passion and enthusiasm. And it's so interesting that you bring this up to me, because I'm not sure your publishing schedule and when this interview is going to be released to the public. But as we're speaking right now, one of my YouTube videos is being published that goes into this. It's about this wrestler, The Miz. And if anyone that follows WWE and follows wrestling, the really cool thing about The Miz is that this is the only time where you see on documented television, because before he was ever a professional wrestler, he was on MTV's The Real World. He was already on a TV show. And in that show, he wanted to be a wrestler. He wanted to be the WWE champion. And he bought this toy belt from a costume shop, and he's running around the house like a maniac, like, oh, I'm The Miz, I got the belt, blah, 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 blah. And he's got his castmates like playing around with him. And what I do in my video is I show you that I juxtapose him acting like that, and then the footage of him actually winning the WWE championship in real life in WWE 10 years later. And nobody wins the WWE championship. And we know it's predetermined, but still, we know nobody wins that without blood, sweat, and tears.
Sure.
And he went through a lot of difficult, trying times, because that's not an easy industry. The other wrestlers, the other talent, make it really hard on you to make it through. But his action was inspired action. He was so fueled by that vision. He loved getting in the ring. He loved getting on the road. He loved doing all the media appearances. It was hard, grueling work, but he still loved it. It was inspired action. So that's my long-winded way of saying, like, you know, you want to lose weight. I mean, technically, it is possible to just visualize it and your body will respond and make it happen. But you also got to remember that we are so programmed in patterns of thought that tell us that eating right and working out are a huge contributing factor, that if you don't do that, you're creating too much resistance for yourself. I believe you can literally visualize yourself into losing 50 pounds. But that's potentially, since most people won't believe it, they won't let themselves do it. So of course, you want an exercise and nutritional help with that, because it's going to give your body the permission and the click to be like, okay, now it's time to lose weight.
You know, when you said, and that's outstanding, what you said about inspired action made me think and wonder. So let's say I intend to manifest something in my life through the law of attraction. However, I don't feel inspired to take the action to achieve it. Could that be that this is not what my core or my being wants for me, and I'm trying to project something out of my maybe not something that is not really true to my vision or to my purpose as a human being.
Right. So here's the hard part, and I'm going to give you the easy part on the end of it. The hard part is that's a possibility. It's possible. It's not really for your highest good, and you kind of know it already. It's also possible that you don't really believe you can do it, and you don't want to put yourself through it. Now, we don't really know the answer. And by the way, there might be other possibilities. If we don't know the exact answer with certainty, then it comes back to, what if you were to practice these methods for 5 minutes a day feeling good about this thing? Because over time, you will make a decision, a more definitive decision based on joy and based on confidence, whether you're going to do this or not. Because if you keep doing a method of like, we'll just use like a job that you want to get. You want to go to law school. I mean, wow, that's a lot of years and a lot of work, right? You want to be an attorney. All right, well, you're visualizing this with enthusiasm every single day. At some point, maybe it's a month later, maybe it's a week later, maybe it's a year, who knows? You're going to be like, either, okay, I really don't want this. I want the money that comes with it. I've realized this. Or I want the status. Or it might be a thing of like, no, I do want this. And thanks to me visualizing and feeling good, now I finally believe I can do it. So now I'm going to go with it. So it really becomes a thing of whether or not it's for your highest good or it's you just doubting yourself, the answer will be revealed when you engage in very easy techniques, scripting, gratitude, visualization over time, and you let the answer be revealed. And by the way, while all this is going on, to whatever measure you can, another reason to do these methods every day is try to enjoy your life. Like if you want to be an attorney, it's no matter what, it's going to take a few years. Please enjoy your life while you're there, while you're doing it. You want to lose 50 pounds, it might take a couple of months. Please enjoy your life while you're doing it. You want to meet the person of your dreams. Who knows? It could be tomorrow. It could be next year. Please enjoy your life on the way to it, because why not? Like, life is meant to be enjoyed, please. And the more you enjoy it, the more you will invite those results anyway. And don't make joy this goal, make joy your strategy. When joy becomes your strategy, it becomes something that you get to achieve and receive and enjoy right away, but also gets to be something that will push you more into what you want.
Yeah, as I think it was Buddha who said that happiness is the path. It's not somewhere we arrive. It's how we go. I wanted to ask one more thing about the inspired action, and I want to ask you when you had your own initial experience, when you said that you lost your business and your partner at that time, did you find that practicing the law of attraction the way that you did at that time made you take inspired action, and you felt more inspired towards doing specific things?
Right. So I don't know if I use the word fortunate, but I was so miserable and so upset with myself and how my life had been at that point. Because, I mean, you lose your business and your girlfriend in less than a week. You're going to be pretty upset about it, right? So for me, I was just so stubborn and indignant that fortunately, before even getting to the inspired action part, I just refused to quit. I was like, I don't care when or how something happens. I've seen it kind of work in the past. I am doing this. But then when I got results, it was basically my life experience saying, okay, now I have permission to give myself inspired action. I don't have to be so upset anymore. This doesn't have to be running away from the breakup and the loss of the business. This could be running towards something instead. So for me, for whatever reason, I was upset enough that kept me going at this long enough to get a result that was good enough that I could then reach towards that in the future. I'm not sure if that answered your question. That was kind of what popped out as you asked it.
To some extent, but what you say about being upset, it's like going away from something which you don't like. When I say inspired, I was asking for something that you feel more pulled towards, that compels you to take action, which you may not have necessarily considered before, but it pops out or it appears and you really feel that. And I'm still referring to the concept of inspired action that you mentioned earlier, because it makes all the difference. Obviously, if you have to bang your head against the wall in order to take action, it's so much more difficult. If you have inspired action, it's like you have a big push behind you, or the wind is behind your back, and you just fly.
Yeah, it's like, for me, it's me personally, it's about leaning into it. Because when you lean into it, the inspired action comes. Like, it'll pop in there. When I'm leaning towards a result that I want, I'm like, oh, okay. So I'll use my book as a perfect example. Like, if I discovered this or figured this out 12 years ago, why did it take until last year to write the book, right? Well, it's because I just had not come to the determination that I can articulate this in a way that I think would help others. Yeah. But then I made the decision that I was going to, I was like, I want to provide value. Let me do this. And I wrote the book in only 9.5 weeks. But I wrote it like I stayed up till 4 a.m. every single night. So that was inspired action. Like, it was work. Like, I really pushed myself through. But I felt like, I'll tell you, Agi, a little trick I did for myself is I designed the cover while I was starting the book, because that way, if I ever felt myself like, my enthusiasm going, I could look at the book and I could visualize, oh, look. And I love my book cover. I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. And it kept me like, I'm writing today's chapter. That does it. So like inspired action comes in so many ways. It comes when you're thinking about the result. It comes when you're midway through something. It comes in all sorts of directions. And you'll know sometimes it'll be like a huge nudge and sometimes it'll be a subtle nudge, but it'll always be a forward progress nudge where you feel just like a little good. And to speak really briefly about the thing where I felt bad, and obviously we don't want to feel bad, I do want to say if feeling bad becomes your excuse to try this and then feel good, I say use whatever you have at your disposal, whatever you can use as an excuse to do these methods for just 5 minutes a day for 30 days. Use that excuse to get you over the top.
Awesome. Fantastic. Wow. This has been such an amazing conversation. Thank you very much, Andrew. I want to ask you also some quick fire questions to start wrapping things up.
For sure.
And I will go a bit more general now with this. Tell me, first of all, what does personal development mean to you?
It means working on, basically it means working on any old patterns that you may have experienced in the past that are encouraging you to doubt or to believe in limits. For me, personal development is finding ways of going around those patterns that we were unintentionally given so that we can give ourselves permission to live a more fulfilling life.
Okay. And if you could go back in time and meet your 18-year-old self and you were allowed to give him one piece of advice, what would that be?
This sounds very cheesy because it sounds like I'm trying to sell my book, but I wrote the book for people to save them all the headaches. I would give him my book and be like, listen, you have two choices. You could follow this now and be happy now, or you can go through a bunch of years of unhappiness and searching and then figure it out. I leave it to you. I recommend you do this. And by the way, if people don't want to buy like any book, any good solid book that has methods that will encourage people to do it, I would have just given him that nudge. And I'd say, like, it's up to you, dude. You're probably not going to listen to me, but at least I did my best to warn you.
That's great advice. And, I will digress a little bit. And the thing with books, especially the personal development books, is that many people, and I will point the finger at me in the past, I used to read the books, but not apply the knowledge. So I was left with, I know lots of things about law of attraction, but I didn't, for example, but I wouldn't put in those 5 minutes or 10 minutes to act on the learnings of the book. And that's, I think it's a very subtle trap about personal development books, that they're not meant to be read like a novel. Yeah, they're fascinating and you can talk about those things for hours, but your life won't change unless you start practice what you've learned from the book. There is a distinct difference.
Yes, that's actually why I named the book the way I did. It's like, my book isn't the last one you'll ever read. I mean, hopefully it will be, but it's the last one you'll ever need to, in the sense that, like any law of attraction book worth its salt should be enough if you do the methods. It all comes down to doing the methods.
Absolutely. Andrew, if you had a magic wand and you could wave it and change something in the world as it is today, what would you change?
I would instantly give people awareness of the other person. Because we are so caught up in what we believe is right, and we may be right or not. But if you actually saw what the other person was thinking, it would conflicts would be erased overnight, or at least a lot of undue harm would be erased overnight. Because all of a sudden, it isn't like, oh, this person's trying to beat me. It's like, no, this person actually believes X, Y, and Z. I would give people instant awareness of everybody else and how they're seeing things.
That's absolutely fascinating. I've never thought of it like that. Imagine if we could see, even for a second, to be in others, not just shoes, the other person's brain, and feel that.
Yeah, and to see you shoving your opinions down their throat, and like, oh my God, is that how it is?
Andrew, do you want to share with us a big breakthrough that you had recently?
It's so funny. Recently, my breakthrough, it hasn't been this dramatic thing. I've just found myself personally just going through the day with more ease. It's more like a calm thing. Like, I had this really dramatic goal where I want 1 million YouTube subscribers. And I've got about like 770 right now. So we've got a way to go. And I want to sell 1 million copies of my book and then go from there. These are huge goals. I'm not stressing them. I'm just kind of like floating my way to them. So my breakthrough has just been like an ease with which I'm going about this. And I'm literally just going day by day and not stressing the small stuff. And to me, especially to my 18-year-old self, that is a huge, huge breakthrough.
And let me ask the opposite question, or kind of the opposite. Do you want to share with us a big mistake that you've recently made so we can avoid doing the same?
I mean, I'll put it this way. I don't even want to share details because it's shining a spotlight on the wrong person. I let something upset me more than it needed to. Like somebody was basically not this work. They were attacking other work. It's kind of like a long story, but it didn't matter. Like they had no power over me, and I let it get to me. So I guess that's my, keeping it close to the vest way of saying, like, a lot of times things upset us more than they should, in the sense that the person that's upsetting you or the things that's upsetting you doesn't technically have control over your life. And you're the one that's giving them free rent in your mind. And it's easier said than done to get them out. But the first thing it's got to start with just the awareness that they are living in your mind rent free. And just get upset enough about it, like, listen, I got to do something about this. I got to get my mind off of it, because most things upsetting you really don't have power over you.
And that's agree, and that's, I think, it's a very big game changer once someone realizes that it is themselves. It's never someone else that can make them angry, upset, or anything. It's ourselves that we make ourselves that. No one else has the power to do that. No, there's no way at all. Andrew, emerging from this conversation that we've had, if you were to give to the listener one actionable item to do once they finish the podcast, what would that be?
So whether it's my book or another book, or you don't put out your wallet and you just go on YouTube, I would say find some kind of method, gratitude, scripting, visualization, something that you think you could enjoy, and just do it for the sake of enjoying it. Because 5 minutes a day is not going to hurt you. Again, you don't have to spend money. Just go on YouTube and do it. But do this gift for yourself. Do yourself this service of trying it. Even if it went nowhere, you spend 5 minutes a day feeling good. My plea to people is just do that for themselves and understand that you're worth it. You are worthy of so much more than you give yourself credit for, and that you give yourself permission for. And you don't have to change the world. You don't have to make any dramatic shifts. You just have to do something for 5 minutes a day and it'll really carry you. So give yourself the gift of doing it.
Fantastic. Andrew, is there anything you were hoping I would ask you today and we completely missed it?
Agi, I got to tell you, I don't know how much you hear this, but I'm so impressed with the level of depth and insight that you came with your questions. There's nothing, there's no place, there's no stone that you didn't turn over. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I guess I got to give your audience credit for finding you. Like, I believe they found someone really great and someone to follow that's going to bring a lot of great content to them. You were wonderful. So my long-winded way of saying, no, you hit everything that I would have hoped to share about my understanding of this topic in a way that I would hope will help other people.
Thank you. I really am grateful to hear you say that. And what I say is that first of all, obviously the listener benefits from the knowledge that is and the wisdom that is shared. But the first beneficiary, the first recipient of that is myself. And I always try to find people that I can learn from first, because I think that is the only way to be authentic enough to ask the right questions. Because if I have a list of questions that may not interest me personally, it would be a completely different energy in the conversation. These are topics that truly fascinate me, and they are in my path of personal growth. So that's why I liked what you said about the living no stone unturned. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I really love this conversation.
Tell us, how can people connect with you, find out more about you, the book, your YouTube channel, share everything that you want with us?
Sure. I mean, I imagine you're global, so I'm always used to the American sites. I mean, I know if you go to lastlawofattractionbook.com, I imagine it would forward to the U.S. Amazon book listing for the last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read. But any Amazon local to you, you search for the last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read. And if you don't want to pull out your wallet, I mean, I keep free content on YouTube. My channel is Andrew Kap with a K. So I know America, it's youtube.com/Andrew Kap. But I imagine people could find it just the same either way.
Any social media, anything like that to direct people to? Or
for me, for
YouTube?
For this content, I keep it really straight. There's ways to do channels, but I figure people are going to get the most value from either the book or the YouTube channel. So I always just point them right there. Nice and simple, fewer links for people to worry about.
Awesome. Outstanding. I want to thank you. I really thank you from my heart for this conversation. It's been outstanding, and I certainly know what I'll be doing for a few minutes every day starting tomorrow first thing. So I really appreciate the knowledge and what you shared with us. And I want to wish you all the best with your book, with the 1 million subscribers. That it's an awesome goal. And any parting words?
Well, I just want to say again, Agi, thank you so much for having me. Thanks to your audience for listening. And, I think out of formality, we always say, oh, it was a pleasure to be on, or I really enjoyed it. No, I really enjoyed this conversation. And I really appreciate the care with which you go about this. So I'd say I wish you all the best on your podcast, but I have no doubt that it's going to grow independent of my wishes. And I'm really excited for you.
Thank you for listening. Please take a moment to subscribe and review Personal Development Mastery on Apple Podcasts, and also share this podcast with someone who you think will benefit from it. If you want to gain access to exclusive content while supporting this podcast, then become my patron. The link is in the show notes, or you can type bit.ly/pdmpad. If you want to know more about what I do and how I can help you, or if you have any questions, join my Facebook group Personal Development Mastery. Again, the link is in the show notes, or you can simply type bit.ly/pdmgroup. And until next time, stand out, don't fit in.